Hello and welcome to Aquarium Dilemmas. I'm your host, Science Gal Aquatics. I'm Carrie, and this is my co-host,
Jesse, and welcome.
Yes, and welcome to this week's episode. Again, sorry it was a little bit late. We have a new addition to the family, and we were getting updates on that, and it was stormy. So we're here today, and that's what matters.
So we're officially grandparents and fish keepers.
Yeah, I'm Step Nana and Papa. I think that's what we're going to be called. We'll see. We'll see over time. But yeah, it's an exciting time. So sorry we're late, but again, better late than never. So welcome to this week's episode. And I was piddling in the fish room, and I was just honestly kind of thinking, if I was a new fish keeper, or, you know, not necessarily new, but kind of inexperienced still, what would I want, need, and what would I recommend them not falling for? So I don't know how to explain it versus just what you kind of really need versus what you don't really need. So we'll see what the title comes out as.
I'll call it beginner to intermediate, but not falling for just, you go in the store sometimes, especially, you just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, there's just a lot. I always kind of, in my brain, like I said, through years of, if you followed me, sometimes my brain don't make a lot of sense, but I always kind of think back to my mom's tank. She's been in the hobby for a while, not by choice, because of me and my dad. Now she wants to honestly keep a tank of her own, but she's still in the phase of where, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's mom's tank. It's beautiful. It's hers. It's how she wants, but she still goes into the store and just picks whatever is pretty, catches her eye, what she thinks she needs at the time. And sometimes she'll call me and she'll spend, I'm not going to lie to you, hundreds of dollars on things that I'm like, well, if you want that, that's great. I wish you would have called me beforehand, or, you know, I'm really open to going to the fish store with you, so just call me. So sometimes there's things that marketing, gimmicks, I don't know what you would call it, something that you might feel like you need, but you don't necessarily need. Whether it's your first tank or you've been keeping fish for a while, but you just don't know things until you know. So this is my best advice on this topic.
Well, I'll start out with the one that I like the best, because this is the one I get put in charge of. Is the tank and the stand.
Yeah, going back to like the very basic, if you want to get in this hobby, you do need a tank and something to put it on.
And in my opinion, and out there in Google and YouTube land and everywhere else, my personal opinion, if it's going to be your very first tank, for the easiest size-wise, for room, everything else, and for everything else that's going to come later, would be a 20-gallon tank. A 20 long is in my opinion, the absolute perfect starter tank.
Yes, I would agree with you. It's one of my favorites. If you can go a little larger, what they call a 40 breeder, and I think they even have now like a 60 breeder. If you wanted to keep something that eventually got a little larger, but I'm assuming, and I'm often wrong, most people for their first tank are going for something a little smaller. And I know those little bitty fancy designed different, like they're not just square, they're hexagon, they're all kinds of different sizes and shapes. They are cute, but if you can get something that, like Jesse said, a 20 long, a 40-gallon breeder, just a little bit larger of a footprint, it's just gonna I find it easier, but it's just going to have less fluctuations up and down.
It's going to help you in the
beginning.
long run for everything. And then with a 20 gallon, then that also opens up your stand possibilities. Because then either you can buy a stand that goes with a 20 long, and you can just get a stand that's made for it.
Yeah.
That they're not crazy expensive. Or if you have some heavy type furniture, actual heavy duty, then you will want to use you can use that if you wish, as long as you have something, because obviously, unfortunately, the larger the tank you go, water weighs a lot.
Yeah, water
so
does weigh a lot.
You don't want to try to set it on anything that you even think at the very bare minimum could be rickety or iffy.
Yeah.
So,
and they, like Jesse said, you can always buy the ones that come with it. I have done it in years past. My very first tank, that 30-gallon bow front, I always talk about, I bought the stand that came with it at the pet store. And they are expensive, but you do have to have a stand. So, but you can build them. You can go to garage sales. You can...
Oh, you can get on the internet and build them from...
of things.
You can get on the internet and build them. I think we've even showed how to build some stands. You can get on the internet and they will show you how to build either the easiest, most just straightforward stand.
Yes.
And then you can make it as fancy as you want, not as fancy as you want. You can do anything you want with it. But for my bet is always go heavier on your stand. That's just my motto. If you've seen any of the videos of any of the stuff I've built for Carrie's fish room, I go overkill because it's inevitable that you might want to go bigger or you might want to do something different. So I'd rather already be ready for it than not be ready for it.
Yeah. But again, you definitely need a tank and something to put it on. But make sure that it can hold the weight. You can use dressers. You can use stuff, again, from yard sales. I love yard sales for aquarium stuff. But agreeing with Jesse, just make sure that is definitely able to hold the weight. And there's, depending on what size tank you get, like Jesse said again, water does weigh a lot.
Well, fun fact, water weighs 8.6 pounds per gallon.
Yeah. So
if you have 20 gallons.
And I always think I can lift more than I can. So it's just heavy. So just make sure it's reinforced. But there's definitely cheaper ways to get a stand than buying it at the pet store or a furniture store brand new. There are ways, even online, there's cheaper ways to get one, because you definitely want to put some thought into what you're going to put it on. It's holding up your beautiful tank and all your fish. So.
And you wouldn't want 20 gallons of water exploding in the floor.
No. Trust me, we have. But the next thing I think that you do really need to put some thought into is your filtration. Your filter that you choose on your tank is definitely something that you need to think about and make sure that it's going to be enough for your tank. But saying that, you don't have, there's so many things in that aisle at the pet store that catches your eye. You're like, oh my gosh, I need that. Oh my gosh, I need that. But sometimes you really don't.
Oh, they market them beautiful. I mean, there's all, but well, it does this the best, and this one over here does that the best, and this one does that the best. And I don't care. I've been in it with you a long time. I think for versatility, usability, ease of usability, price point, everything is, especially right out of the gate, either for intermediate or beginner, hang on the back.
Yeah,
because
I do
you can take all the stuff out of them. You can put
not
filter
all
floss
of
in
them
it.
are the same. You do, if you can, if you're allowed to open the box and look inside, hang on the backs for tanks like 40-gallon breeder size and smaller. It's what I've known the best. It's my favorite. I like it. But you have to make sure not all of them are built the same. I like the Tetra Whisper filter ones because it's really open, because one of the things you don't need is all those like carbon filter things that they try to sell you all the time. You can use a hang on the back that's open and fill it with, like Jesse said, filter floss, media, things that really build up that bacteria colony that you want, versus those really like over time they get expensive. And I've finally convinced my mother over the years not to buy them. I still have boxes of them in the storage area in the fish room that I took from her. I was like, you will not use these anymore. Use this instead. But
that's a good topic for later, for why to keep them for other uses.
Like they are handy in rare occasions, but not something that you need to buy every week. And that's really, in saying that, it's to you absorb like medication that I don't want in the water anymore. So,
well, we'll do that on a different one.
I'm just saying things that you don't, if you're just going in and buying them every week to put in your filter, please don't do that. Just get a little bag, aquarium bag. It's like a little mesh bag. Fill it with some media, some sponge, and let that bacteria grow up on that. And you'll do yourself so much like of a favor, and you won't spend so much money. And they market it to you. If you don't know any better, you don't know any better. And well, I did use them for a long time.
That's what's so funny about the marketing. The biomedia stuff, there's like no big signs like pick me, but there is for all the cartridges.
Yeah, like,
and for the cartridges, they got like arrows, all the big stores.
They do have it. I'll give it props. Like, they do have things that you need. And I don't have a local fish store anymore. And I love going to the swaps, but I get to go to them like every 6 months, and they're 2 hours away. So I am thankful for the bigger pet stores out there, whichever one I go to, they have it. But like Jesse said, it's on the bottom shelf, kind of buried away from the things that they're trying to get you. And if you don't know, you don't know.
Well, because on the package it says, "Oh, you got to change every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is." I don't even know at this point, because we don't use them. But
yeah, it's just things. If you're doing that, you can do yourself a favor and save some money and get a better colony of bacteria built up in your tank, and it's just going to be beneficial.
Well, now you got yourself, we'll just go with the premise. Now you got yourself a 20 gallon tank. You got a stand. You got you a nice, easy to work with filter. Mm-hmm. Then the next thing would be a heater and a thermometer, because unless you're going to keep like goldfish or something like that. Well, there is some goldfish out there.
Let me say what I'm going to say before you, and then you can say all you want. I would say the thermometer is something you do need, absolutely need. Whether it's a sticker form, it's one that you can. I like the digital ones that gives me a reading outside the tank, but it's got like a little cord that you put in the tank. You can have like a thermometer gun that you can like just scan it whatever you're just a way to check the temperature of the tank. But a heater is something that you only need if you're going to keep tropical fish.
Yes.
And if you were going to choose something like you said, a goldfish, a white cloud, something that likes a little bit rice fish, something a little bit colder, then you don't have to have a heater at all. Because for years, I heated a goldfish tank with a really expensive heater. And they did last a long time, but they were not living their best life looking back on it. So,
well, the only reason I said a heater is because unless you, and there is a caveat to this, unless you live somewhere to where your climate is very stable, then, cold winters, warm summers, that you turn the air conditioning on inside your house, that tank's going to get colder. That's the only reason I say that.
Yeah. And tropical fish want to stay in like the 75, 82 off the top of my head range. Like we keep discus, and we definitely need a heater on that tank.
Yeah.
It's a must. But the white clouds and the rice fish we've had in years past, it's not something that you need at all. So when you're going in and picking what you want to keep, if you don't want to spend the money on $100 heater or $50 heater, there are ways to 100% keep a beautiful tank without having the headache and the hassle, because I do think that they are necessary, but I hate them. So I have gone on many rants about them. It's something I do use. I just don't use it if I don't have to use it. But just going on, like you said, the topic of, it's really dependent on the species of fish. That's one thing that you cannot have, but it's also something that you may need.
Yes. But those top four there is probably the possibility, because a lot of people, some people lean towards goldfish with their first tank, but some people also lean towards some cichlids and more tropical type fish. So you're going to have that heater.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to know how warm that water is so that you're not boiling your fish.
Like even with the cold water fish, it's just something I think it happened when we kept the axolotl, because we kept the axolotls before the discus, and
I'll do a shameless plug. Check out your YouTube channel for how I built that, for the reason you need to have a thermometer on it.
Yeah. Well, it's one that I really want to keep tabs on. So I started using those digital thermometers and those, so I can just come down here and at a glance see what it is. They malfunction really quickly when you accidentally dunk them in the tank. So don't put the digital part in the water. Just the parts that are meant to be in there. But lesson learned. And I started using those, and I knew that keeping an eye on your, how hot your tank is really important. But I've always used the sticker ones, and I liked them, but I just fell in love with these, and I realized I knew it was one of those things that I needed to do, and I did it. But I was just half doing it, I guess. And I still use the sticker ones on fish that I guess aren't as sensitive. But to get that pinpoint, it's not just 72 to 74. I really wanted to dial in on, and then it got really even more important when we got the discus. So I just really fell in love with that way of keeping an eye on what the temperature is.
I like
but there are cheaper ways. Those I think are
they're cheap.
$12 a
cheap,
piece.
and the thing I like about them the most is they're small, and you can hide them. They don't have to be up front.
Yeah.
You can put them around the side, around the back. You don't. They're so then whenever you want to take a glance at it, you can take a glance at it. It's really easy. It's not gonna muck up your aquarium. It's not gonna mess anything up aesthetically, because they're so tiny and they're easy to hide.
Yeah. And I even put it in to the bucket that my fresh water that I kind of gas off for a little bit. I have a 55-gallon trash can that I keep for just my clean water. And I like to know what the reading is on my fresh water. So it's just something, again, that I knew it was important. I did it. It's just now I really have dialed into what the temperature is. And the more I pay attention to it, the more I realized how important that is. But there are different ways to do that. You don't have to go in and get the most expensive thing there is. I like the digital ones. There's like I said, the sticker ones, if you just kind of want to know a roundabout, those at the hardware store, they have those thermometer guns that you can just
I don't trust those shooting through glass. I don't. I don't
feel
care.
like they're accurate, but they're not like dialed in. It's more of kind of, you might be 1 or 2 degrees off.
I just don't.
The kids played with them a lot, so they probably got shooken around a lot.
Well, I just feel as though the small ones with the probe on them, if it's in the middle of the water column, then that's probably as close as you're going to get.
And I know, like, for a while, especially in the summertime, I don't use as many heaters in the tank because the house gets so warm. But it really does allow me to know when I can kind of unplug them out of some of the tanks, and it's warm enough in the fish room that I can just do without for a while. And it's just, there's so many perks to keeping track of that, however you want to do it. It's something that's a must versus the heater.
Well, and just kind of moving on forward through that, the other thing, since we got our 20-gallon tank, we got our stand, we got our heater and our thermometer, we're going to say we're keeping guppies.
Yeah.
We're keeping guppies. We got to keep them a little bit warmer. Not too warm, but a little bit warmer. But before we're going to keep them guppies in there, test strips.
Yeah, you can. I feel like the test strips or
test kit, whatever.
Yeah. Well, the test kits, last time I checked on them, they were like $50 to $80. They were pretty expensive. I feel like however you want to test your water is the must. Now, how you want to test your water is up to you. Those test kits, they're pretty expensive, and they can be a little complicated if you're not used to using them. But if you can get them, it's definitely more accurate to really dial in. But again, kind of like the last topic, I personally like the test. I think it's the Tetra test strips. They're way cheaper, and I find them to be pretty accurate. So if you want something just quick, you want to test it every couple of days, and you just want to go in and out, I think is the must that you should at least have on hand. Now, if you want something more expensive, go for it. But if this is, like I said, kind of what you need versus what you don't need, you don't necessarily need right out of the gate the most expensive $80+ test kit. As long as you have something like the test strips to give you something. The most important thing is you just have something that tells you your water parameters. That's the must.
Yep.
In this topic.
Well, in this topic, which leads into the other topic of to get to using those test strips before you add the fish would be, let's just give the tank some time, and let's get some substrate and some other stuff in there to give that bacteria something to latch on to.
Yeah, and this kind of is, again, it's something you must have. Well, I guess you don't. If you're keeping a bare bottom tank for like a goldfish, they will do okay. Then it's not necessarily must have. There's always
exceptions to the rule.
In Jesse's 20-gallon long guppy tank that we're setting up, it's highly recommended you use substrate and some kind of decorations. Now, do you need to spend $80 on a bag of really expensive high-end substrate and, I don't even know how expensive. They're just really expensive decorations at the pet store with all the bubbles and everything. You don't necessarily need that. They act like sometimes you do, but you don't. You can go to the hardware store and get a bag of pool filter sand or some pea gravel or river rock. There's ways to get it that's less expensive. It's a must in our hypothetical tank that we're keeping, but there are, again, ways to go cheaper.
Yes. No, there's, and you can go Carrie, way back in the beginning, you can go with the neon gravel. If that's what you want, then by golly, go for it. Absolutely.
And some of those decorations are just really expensive. And if you want to start off, it feels sometimes I hear people talking at some of the shows and conventions. And if you're not keeping live plants, and it's something you're thinking about, it can be a very intimidating process. But I feel like fish really benefit from something in your tank that allows them to rest or hide or find a little spot that makes them feel stress-free. So if you have a piece of really cool driftwood in your yard, or you found camping or something and you really want to put that in your tank, go for it. Go for it. You don't have to get we'll
have to do a whole nother one on
going back to my mom's tank. She doesn't want live plants right now. She's not ready for them. She likes the fake plants, and she has all kinds. She has purple ones, green ones, red. She has all of them. And maybe one or two is great. You don't have to spend to where every place in the aquarium has, a bubble man, and a battleship with the whole back end. And this kind of goes to my next thing too, with all the bubblers. If your filtration is enough, it's adequate for the bioload of your fish. And I've had this conversation with my mom. You don't necessarily need to add the extra $80 air pump for your tank, if that necessarily makes sense. If you do want a little extra flow, like some of my bigger tanks, it's more of my bigger tanks, I have a spot where there's no flow and things kind of settle, then I will add an extra air stone. But in my 20 longs and my 10 gallons that I have, I don't necessarily need an extra air pump. My filtration does enough. Is the aeration and the circulation. You do want some circulation to where the water is is moving. You don't want to necessarily, but you don't want in a tornado like sometimes my mom's, she has the scuba diver and the pirate ship and the air stone that goes through the whole tank, the whole background. And it sometimes gets a little swirly. So there is a fine line where it's not necessary. I don't know if too much is the right word, but just it's too much versus you don't necessarily need that. You just want that. She wants that. But if you're going in there and you're trying to save money and you're just picking out what you need to get set up to let it have some time to cycle, you don't have to buy that extra air pump all the time. It seems like some people that I've talked to, that are new, they just feel like they have to have an air stone and a really strong filtration and the bubble bar and maybe an extra air stone on this side. And then they have a sponge filter in the other corner, and you have 3 air pumps and a filter.
That's too much.
This scenario is what I'm trying to explain. If you have a 75 gallon and you have a canister filter and an air stone, I feel like that's
more
good.
Than enough.
That's
more
fine.
than enough depending on the size of the canister filter.
In this scenario in my head that I'm trying to get out, sometimes you don't need to do that. You don't have to go in there and get all of that and set up on your 10-gallon tank.
No.
So however you take that, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, she went on a rant. Let's jump into what you're good at. Maintenance tools.
Well, I want to go back. I want to go to the water conditioner things. I do always recommend getting a really good water conditioner, because you don't want the chlorine and the chloramine, all that. You don't want that in your water. So I personally recommend Prime. I like Prime. I've used it for a long time. I've used other things in years past. I think that is something that is beneficial that you should get, that I will recommend you to get.
Well, I was going to lump it in with basically maintenance.
Yes. But when you're going to the bigger store and they have that aisle that's just loaded down with like pH up and down and all these beneficial bacterias, water change in a bottle. It's like all these different things that I have bought. I have spent so much money on things. I feel like that's the one aisle that all you need is some water conditioner, whether you can get your hands on Prime or it's whatever water conditioner you can use. That's what I think you should get in that aisle, because most of that stuff it's just quick fixes if they even work, and
they don't usually fix anything. They just cause another problem.
Cause a mess. So honestly, your best friend is time and water changes and some water conditioner. I don't feel like someone that's new to the hobby should go down there and be like, oh, I'm going to get pH up and pH down and cloudy water, fix it all.
Oh, and the algae clarifiers.
Like, whatever it is. Now, through the years of playing with aquascaping contests where I want the water to be like clear instantly, there's like a fondant type product, aqua something, that I do like, but that's in an aquascaping contest, okay? It's not something that I use in my fish room.
Well, it's not meant for long-term use.
Well, you might use it before a water change. It's meant to make the debris, I think, in your water column, force it down so then you can use your aquarium vac and get it all up. So I can, and it makes your water super clear. But I don't find it that useful in my everyday fish keeping experience. If you use it and like it, I do like it for what I use it for. Out of all the things out there, there's two. And like I've said numerous times, I have bought them all. And there's very few that I will recommend. There's a couple medications for like ick, but in our scenario, we're going in, we're setting up our tank. You don't have to go and buy all of that, mainly that fix-it-all stuff. Don't get it. Time and water changes is definitely your friend. And in the pet store, I feel like that's the aisle that gets you the most. That one followed by the filter section with all those insert things. But that aquarium chemical bottle stuff is where I feel like
well, it's because they
get
know
a lot of people the most.
You think you're having a problem, and you're not having a problem.
Yeah. Well, if your water's cloudy, you're having a problem. If you don't know what's going on at all, and your water, you walk in and all of a sudden it's like, boom, you have this like cloudy tank and you don't know what's happening. I mean, I've done it. I've gone right to the fish store. I've looked for like how to fix this. Whatever my problem is, I bought it, came home, put it in my tank, and usually I'm going to blame it on the hairdresser in me, because through the years of hairdressing, I like product, and sometimes more is better. But in this scenario, more is not better, and I have caused a lot of problems from overdosing.
Well, we got our water conditioner.
But not only that, it's just like I said, like you said too, it just masks the problems, or it's just a quick little thing, and it doesn't help. It doesn't fix anything. It usually
creates another problem.
But then going into aquarium maintenance tools, you do need aquarium maintenance tools, but I think you need some kind of algae scraper, which is my favorite. It's just a razor blade and a siphon and a bucket. I think those are like the ones you need.
Yep.
And some of there's some cool gadgets out there. There are, and I love gadgets. But if you're going in and you just want to keep it on the simple side, you don't want to spend a lot of money. I recommend an aquarium vac of some sort so you can get the debris out. A razor blade or something plastic that won't scratch your tank, that you can get the algae off the glass that is going to be there at some point.
Yep.
And a bucket. A bucket will always be your friend.
Yep. That's about it.
And you can get
what
are they called? The pythons. Like, a lot of people use that, and I think they're like $100+. They are helpful, but it's something that maybe you might upgrade to in the future, not necessarily.
And a fish net.
Yes, you do need a fish net.
You can never not have fish nets.
And with those, you might as well buy two. You cannot have enough buckets or fish nets. Yeah, that was a good one. But some of those things on the market, like, I know personally off the top of my head, the one that I like the least, and then we'll move on to the next one, are those magnets. If you can use them and use them properly, go for it. Use them away. But I find them so freaking, and I would use a stronger word, but I find them so annoying. It's always the end in your tank falls to the bottom. You can't reach it. Or you have that one pebble of sand that gets in there that you don't know, and you're just going away cleaning your algae, and you didn't know that little piece of sand was scratching the absolute crap out of your tank. So again, they sell it to you like it's the bee's knees of all algae cleaning things. And if you can use them, go for it. I don't know if I just go too fast or whatever it is. There's all kinds of helpful little things on the market that you don't have to use. They're not necessary. Are they the thoughts there? Sure. But you don't need them. Honestly, a hotel key, an old debit card, a razor blade, and a bucket, and an aquarium vac. That's all you need. Get you started and take you on a long journey, a long way in this hobby.
Well, in this hobby, I think simple is actually most effective.
Yeah, most times,
in
yes.
the aquarium lifestyle, simple. Don't go for the first fix or the newest gadget or whatever, because they can't reinvent the wheel.
There's many things I do think are cool. It's just you don't necessarily need to spend the money on them. In time, if you want to get something that you find that makes it even easier, then go for it.
You,
yeah.
yes.
But
in your
I'm just
situation,
talking about in our scenario that we made for our 20-gallon guppy tank. You don't need all that.
And then the one that makes the biggest difference in the world, in my opinion, and my opinion alone, is really good food. Whether, depending on what you're keeping, whether it be a high quality live food or whether it's just high quality food, flake food in general, but high quality foods.
Yeah, there's just so many different ones on the market, and sometimes it is hard to decide. But when it comes to food, cheaper's not always better. I do recommend having a good flake, but have some granules, have some floating pellets, have some bloodworms every so often. I feel like if you are going to splurge somewhere, splurge on the good food.
Yep.
I personally like Northfin. It's one of my favorites. I still use it, and I highly recommend them. But if it's not available to you, that's one thing. Just like your food, read the ingredients. Make sure it has good ingredients in it. Don't have a bunch of, crappy fillers in it. And you want to have good food for your fish so they have, a good diet, because it goes a long way.
Yep. Check the date on the packages.
Yeah.
That's the other recommendation from me. Check the date on the packages. That way you'll know when it was either manufactured or shipped, whatever.
Yeah, and kind of
that way you're not accidentally buying like old inventory from somebody.
yeah, that's only happened when I did have a local fish store. It's been a long time ago. It was like really old, and I was like, I better not. I just gave it to him and got one that was a little bit more fresh. I wouldn't say it happens often, but it's everything's worth checking when you just want to feed your fish really good food. But kind of the last thing that I could think of, I think, is lighting. I mean, the $100 plus plant light is a cool light, but there's 100% cheaper ways to have really good lit aquariums that make your fish look great than having a $100+ light. I mean, some of these tanks look good lit with just a light bulb, and they still grow the plants that I'm wanting to grow. So it's something, again, that I think it's necessary. You need to have a light. You need to have...
Well, the light that comes with our hypothetical situation, if you bought the kit and a 20-gallon long, it comes with this hood and light. That light will work just fine.
That one did really well.
That light will work just fine for... If you choose to go the live plant route, then it would work just fine for basic aquarium plants.
Yeah, low light plants.
It would work just fine for basic aquarium plants. Now, if you're wanting to jump off in the deep end like I did and just kind of be like, "Ooh, well, I'm gonna try this.
I'm gonna buy everything inside.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy every plant at the swap they have. I'm gonna just jump in the deep end." Then yeah, you're going to need a better light because you're.
But even saying that, you don't have to
but
use
it doesn't have to be the
light.
It doesn't have to be the $200-$300 light.
I do like the Hygger lights a lot. They're a little bit of a cheaper option that are I really like their lights. Again, the hairdresser in me, I don't like a warm light. I like more of a cool tone aquarium light look, but there's so many different ways to make your tank look good when it comes to lighting. And that did remind me of one last thing is sometimes you see those kits and I feel like they get a lot of people in the hobby. So I don't want to talk too much smack, but be wary sometimes when you walk in and you see some kits, if you buy the stuff individually, you're going to get a better deal. I've seen some things at different fish stores through the years that I was like, dang, man, that's expensive. That's a cool tank. And if you break it down for things that you need versus what's all in that kit, you can sometimes get a better price buying things individually and going about it a different way.
Well, if you stuck to our beginning list of
like a 20-gallon or 20 long kit, I think is a pretty safe option, but I'm talking about sometimes those
little bit bigger ones, yes. Yeah. And they want to throw in these extra odds and ends that I know what you're talking about.
Like you'll get the Fluval 4.0 plant light of the century, and they're good lights, but you don't need to spend
But you're keeping a goldfish.
$1,500 on this aquarium kit. You're like, holy smoke, but when you break it down, you're not saving any money. You can get your tank, light it a different way, even if you wanted a canister filter, which is I do like my canister filter on my larger tank. You don't have to get the FX4 or the FX6. They are good filters. I'm not going to talk. We have them. I do like them. But you can do a DIY canister filter and get the exact same results, if not better. You don't have to spend $300 on a filter just because you have a tank. So you can get you can go to a yard sale, refurbish your stand, get it all painted up, make it look good, buy your tank, get it set up with your substrate from the hardware store, get you a good filter, but pack it full with aquarium media that's a little cheaper than the constant inserts. Get you a good water conditioner. Let it set up for a month or two to whenever you feel like it's cycled with your test strips. Give it a good test. And then
buy your fish, but don't go and buy like 60 guppies. Start off with like 10. See how they do. You don't have to spend like $600 on fish like my mom has done.
Yep, too many fish.
Like,
too many
do
fish at
a
once.
few at once, give it a go, see how it is, and then take it from there. It's just, I would rather people start off slow, get into the hobby, hopefully get introduced to podcasts like this or people, however, that just know, give you some advice, a friend at least, someone that knows a little bit to get you started, to be like, no, you don't need this right now. Get this instead, and get you set up a little bit better for the future. Because I do think one of the biggest things that make people fall out of love or even excitement of this hobby is you go in, you buy all this stuff, you're so excited, you've got the decor, you've got your bags of fish, you've got your $80 bag of substrate.
I think sometimes they force you at the store, like, you buy this, you got to buy the fish right now. No, I don't.
I don't necessarily, depending on the store you're, I feel like sometimes the employees do have what's best at heart. They're giving you the best advice they can at the time. And I feel like the big box store, pet stores, have a really good place in the hobby. They bring so many more people to the hobby than I can bring to the hobby. I feel like they have their place. It's just, you buy all this stuff, you get your tank, you buy your 4 bags of fish, and you're so excited you're finally going to give it a shot after months of debating, and then everything passes away. And you go and do it again and again and again, and you're just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just going to get rid of it and throw it away. And I just wish that didn't happen, so we can bring more and more people into this hobby that stay their entire life. And if this episode does even a minute 1 or 2 people, I'm trying to pitch in, because I love this hobby and I want a lot of people to enjoy it. And even listening to us, I'm giving you the best advice I can at the time I can give it. And maybe next year I'll be like, oh my gosh, guys, they have this new product at blah, 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 and you have to go get it. And might be some kind of additive. I don't know what the future holds, but at this time, again, this is what I'm hoping to pass on to make people stay in the hobby.
At my time, it is simple is better, and time is your friend. Don't overload your tanks. Start slow. Just enjoy the process.
Yeah.
You have to enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy the process,
is the hobby.
That's what I mean. That's where I'm at.
And it's a
with
hard lesson to learn.
Because I know you, even now, you still get excited.
I get so excited, and I just want it to happen now. But I don't know. I was doing stuff in the fish room, waiting on the baby, and trying to keep my mind on things, and I'm always trying to think from more of my mom's point of view, and I thought this would be helpful. So hopefully it is. And if you know someone that can use this advice and likes to have a few extra crazy friends in their corner, please pass it along. And while you're at it, go to sciencegalaquatics.com and check out the plushies. We had the craft show local this past weekend, and I'm just always amazed at how the kids always know the animals, and sometimes the adults, they just don't. And we have the best conversations, and this time a lot of people were interested more in the fishy plushies, and I was really excited to talk fish all day long at the craft show. So go ahead and check sciencegalaquatics.com so you can see what we're talking about. Go check out the plushies. But next week we shouldn't be late, but we don't know what the future holds, so just stay tuned, and we will see you on the next one. You want to say anything? Closing out?
Closing out.
No? Okay. See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye. So much appreciation to you for sticking around, and we'll see you next week. Bye.